From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aishah Ashraf. Our top story for today: Saudi Arabia has announced major changes for the 2025 Hajj pilgrimage. Children are now banned from Hajj to ensure safety amid massive crowds. Officials say the move is to prevent risks to young pilgrims. The kingdom has also tightened visa rules. Visitors from 14 countries will get only single-entry visas for Hajj. Authorities say this is to stop unauthorized pilgrimages that contribute to overcrowding. First-time pilgrims will get priority to ensure more people perform Hajj at least once in their lifetime. Additionally, a new installment-based payment plan has been introduced. Domestic pilgrims can now pay in 3 parts with a 20% deposit required within 72 hours of booking. Registrations for Hajj 2025 are open through the Nusuk app and official website. Officials urge pilgrims to follow new guidelines to avoid issues. More than 100 doctors, nurses, and healthcare workers joined a protest on Capitol Hill this week, urging Senate members to act immediately to save Palestinians. Under the banner, Doctors Against Genocide, they called for immediate steps to end the genocide in Gaza. The group also demanded a permanent ceasefire, the restoration of funding for the UN Refugee Agency for Palestinians, known as UNRWA, and an end to the forced displacement of Palestinians. A spokesperson said, "We refuse to be complicit in crimes against humanity. What is happening to the Palestinian people is genocide funded by our tax dollars." Doctors Against Genocide is a global coalition of healthcare professionals advocating for human rights. The group believes medical workers have a duty to speak against atrocities and demand justice. DAG is also calling for the release of Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, director of Gaza's Kamal Adwan Hospital. Israel's army detained him in December. He was one of the leading doctors who continued working under Israeli bombardment to save the wounded and injured in Gaza. The press conference was interrupted by Capitol Police, who said it was not permitted inside the building. In related news, for the first time since his arrest in December, Dr. Hussam Abu Safia, director of Kamal Adwan Hospital in northern Gaza, has appeared in Israeli custody. A video aired by Israeli media showed him shackled in both hands and feet, visibly exhausted and weakened, as he was escorted by prison guards. Israeli forces stormed Kamal Adwan Hospital on December 28th, arresting Abu Safia at gunpoint and later destroying the hospital, rendering it inoperable. More than 350 people, including medical staff and patients, were also detained. Abu Safia's image, standing alone in a white medical coat amid the ruins, surrounded by Israeli military vehicles, became a powerful symbol of Palestinian resilience. His family claims he has been subjected to severe torture and starvation inside Israeli prisons, a claim supported by a human rights group whose lawyer recently visited him. Israel has detained him under the unlawful combatant law, allowing imprisonment without trial. His son Ibrahim was killed in an Israeli military raid on the hospital in October. Despite being injured in an Israeli airstrike in November, Abu Safia refused to leave his hospital and continued treating the wounded. President Donald Trump called himself a king in a social media post on Wednesday. He wrote, "Long live the king," while announcing the cancellation of New York's congestion pricing. On Truth Social, he said, "Congestion pricing is dead. Manhattan and all of New York is saved. Long live the king." The White House X account also shared the post. It featured an image of Trump wearing a crown with a U.S. flag pin on his collar. The post has sparked concerns about the administration moves to allegedly weaken democratic institutions. Senator Bernie Sanders has accused President Donald Trump and his allies of aligning with Russian President Vladimir Putin. He warned that such an alliance threatens democratic values and international alliances. Sanders wrote on X that Trump and his American oligarchs are now openly aligning themselves with Putin and his Russian counterparts. His post came after Trump slammed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as a dictator without elections. Zelensky accused Trump of being caught in a space of disinformation, saying he hopes Trump's team gets a clear understanding of the truth about Ukraine. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order ending federal taxpayer-funded benefits for undocumented immigrants. The order directs government agencies to identify and stop benefits for those without legal status. It also strengthens verification systems to ensure only legal residents receive assistance. A White House fact sheet citing the House Homeland Security Committee estimates taxpayers could pay up to $451 billion to support undocumented immigrants who arrived in 2021. The fact sheet blames Biden-era policies for a rise in illegal immigration, straining state and local budgets. Trump claims his administration will uphold the rule of law and protect benefits for American citizens, including veterans and people with disabilities. While immigrants who do not have legal status do not qualify for federal benefits, all children are entitled to a free K-12 public education regardless of status. IRS to begin laying off 6,000 employees Thursday. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we will be right back. Welcome back. The Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, has begun laying off about 6,000 employees. This is part of the Trump administration's effort to downsize the federal workforce. The New York Times reports that the layoffs are primarily affecting those who have not yet gained full job protections. IRS managers reportedly instructed affected employees to return to the office with their government-issued equipment. The company has approximately 100,000 employees nationwide, including accountants, lawyers, and other personnel. The Trump administration has already imposed a hiring freeze on the agency. Reports indicate that some IRS agents have been asked to help with immigration and enforcement efforts. The IRS and Treasury Department have not commented on the layoffs. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will not attend the G20 foreign ministers meeting in South Africa. Tensions between Washington and Pretoria have risen under President Donald Trump's administration. This is the first G20 foreign ministers meeting since South Africa took over the presidency last year. Experts say the U.S. absence is a bad signal for global cooperation. Last week, Trump cut aid to South Africa, citing concerns over a land expropriation law affecting Afrikaners. The Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, has designated Stanford University a hostile campus. CAIR's San Francisco Bay Area office made the announcement at a news conference. The Muslim civil rights organization defines hostile campuses as institutions that suppress pro-Palestine activism and free speech. The group accuses Stanford of intimidating and disciplining students protesting Israel's genocide in Gaza. CAIR's legal experts point to Stanford's updated free speech rules, which they say restrict discussions on Palestine. Protesters claim the university removed free speech zones and punished activism under the guise of policy enforcement. Last June, students occupied the president's office in protest. Many were arrested, suspended, and temporarily banned from campus. CAIR argues the university has created a climate of fear for pro-Palestine students. Stanford ranks poorly in national free speech rankings, placing 218 out of 251 universities. The administration insists its policies are neutral and aim to protect free speech and university operations. CAIR's growing list of hostile campuses includes Harvard and Columbia. Stanford has not responded to its inclusion on the list. The Israeli army has left behind massive destruction in Lebanon's Yarun after withdrawing from the town. Mosques and churches have been heavily damaged, leaving them unusable. Homes, roads, and key infrastructure are in ruins. Residents returning to their homes are devastated by the destruction. The Israeli army pulled out Tuesday from areas it occupied during the war. However, it still holds 5 positions inside Lebanon. Israel was supposed to withdraw fully by January 26, but requested an extension until February 18th. A fragile ceasefire has been in place since November 27th, but Israel has violated it nearly 1,000 times, killing 79 people and injuring 276. Israel's war in Lebanon, which began on October 8, 2023, has killed 4,109 people, wounded 16,899, and displaced 1.4 million, including many women and children. The Somali National Army says it has thwarted a major attack by the terrorist group Al-Shabaab, killing more than 130 militants. The Somali National Army says it has thwarted a major attack by the terrorist group Al-Shabaab, killing more than 130 militants. Somali officials say the fighting took place in the Middle Shabelle region. Local residents told Anadolu news agency that they heard heavy gunfire and explosions that lasted for hours after the group's attack. The ministry said the army also seized a large quantity of weapons from the militants who fled to the forested area. Somalia has been plagued by insecurity for years, with the main threats emanating from the Al-Shabaab and ISIS terror groups. Since 2007, Al-Shabaab has been fighting the Somali government and the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia. Afghanistan's Taliban government has rejected the International Criminal Court's jurisdiction over the country. The regime declared Afghanistan's 2003 accession to the ICC as unlawful. The move follows ICC's recent request for arrest warrants against Taliban Supreme Leader Hibatullah Akhundzada and Chief Justice Abdul Hakim Haqqani. They are accused of crimes against humanity, particularly for persecuting Afghan women and girls. The Taliban, who regained power in 2021, said they do not recognize the Rome Statute, which governs the ICC. They accused the court of political bias and failing to act against war crimes committed by foreign forces in Afghanistan. Since their takeover, the Taliban have restricted women's rights and banned female education beyond 6th grade. These have been criticized by Islamic scholars in and outside of Afghanistan. The ICC has no police force and relies on member states to enforce its warrants. However, no country has recognized the Taliban as Afghanistan's legitimate government. The Taliban insists their governance is based on Islamic teachings, dismissing international criticism. The $1 trillion Islamic bond market faces turmoil as clerics propose a major rule change. The Accounting and Auditing Organization for Islamic Financial Institutions plans to enforce new standards. These require issuers to transfer legal ownership of assets to investors. The organization says the move, known as Standard 62, will ensure Sukuk bonds align better with Islamic financial principles. However, credit rating agencies warn that change could disrupt the fast-growing market by adding legal complexities, raising costs, and deterring investors. Currently, Sukuk bonds work around the Islamic ban on interest by using asset-backed structures that generate income for investors. But many scholars argue the market does not fully adhere to Islamic principles and should function more like equity investments. Saudi Arabia, the largest Sukuk issuer, relies on these bonds to fund its Vision 2030 economic plans. Experts predict the new rule could fragment the market as countries may adopt different interpretations. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.